agriculture, crime, and traffic safety, Taiwan's presidential candidates are floating some new promises. Taiwan responds to what it says is election interference by China.
Taiwan picks its word of the year, but not everyone's sure what to make of it.
Plus, we meet the hairdresser going to great lengths to bring a bit of style to Taiwan's remotest parts. Good evening and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao with 30 minutes of the latest. Thanks for joining. It's the end of a busy week on Taiwan's presidential campaign trail. With barely a month to Election Day, the three candidates are beginning to bring back core promises and floating some new ideas. John Van Trieste brings us the latest.
A show of unity. Despite rumors to the contrary, Kuomintang presidential candidate Ho Yo-i now has the backing of an influential member of his party. Wang Jinping, once Taiwan's legislative speaker, has even agreed to chair Ho's national network of supporters.
在我们困难的时候，担任我们这一次国民党总统候选人的全国会员会的总会长，整合了所有大家能够团结的所有的力量。
But this campaign stop isn't just about refuting talk of a possible schism. There's just over a month until Election Day, and none of the candidates can afford to forget about driving home the importance of their positions. Ho, a former police officer, has gone heavy on tackling fraud, drugs, and violence. And he's repeated this three-part mantra again here. It's not just old positions, though. Taiwan People's Party candidate Ko Wen-je has some new ones. This time, it's all about agriculture. Ko wants to boost Taiwan's food security, encourage young people to farm, and help farmers brand their products. And he wants high-tech solutions to a chronic problem that hits household budgets: overproduction of some things, but underproduction of others.
建立人工智慧专属的这种 database， 它还是要以台湾为范围。像那个农业大资料库，你知道，如果它有效运作，那为什么会高丽菜忽高忽低价格？还有那个香蕉会生产过剩？
Ka also criticized the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's policy of spending on solar farms that cover agricultural land. He says Taiwan should adopt farmer-friendly policies introduced in Japan. These include building solar panels that sit on elevated racks above fields so they can still be used to grow crops. Meanwhile, Democratic Progressive Party candidate Lai Ching-te is making a very Taiwanese kind of campaign stop, an appearance at a local temple. In Taiwan, these are not only religious centers, but also community centers. An appearance at a temple is a chance to meet voters and appear as a candidate of the people. He's not forgotten the issues either. At this event, he's promoting one of his party's legislative candidates, Lin Yue-jin. She's an outspoken advocate for improving traffic safety. Taiwan's been labeled a pedestrian hell in recent Western media reports, but Lai says a vote for his protege will be a vote for turning that around. The latest polls show that over 80% of voters have already made up their minds. What's left to see over the final weeks of the campaign is whether policy promises like these work on the small but not insignificant number of undecideds. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about where the election is heading, John Van Trieste spoke to political analyst Courtney Donovan-Smith.
What are the general developments in the most recent polls?
In the polls, what's interesting is that since the breakdown of cooperation negotiations between the Ke camp and the Ho camp, what's happened is that Ho's polls he's been rising in the polls, and Ke has been dropping. Now, as of today, in the Taiwan News poll of polls that I aggregate, Ke is at about 20%, Ho is at 30%, and Lai is about 39%.
Do you look into, or do other pollsters look into why voters are going to vote the way that they are? Is this a matter of party loyalties, or do policy announcements have a genuine sway on them?
Generally speaking, when it comes to choosing the presidential candidate, it's the policies toward China, views on sovereignty and national defense that usually hold sway as the most important issues.
But is this election a shoo-in for the DPP? What about undecided voters, which, from what I can tell, make up anywhere from 10 to 20% of the electorate?
In the Taiwan News poll of polls right now, undecideds are just under 10%. So as things stand right now, Lai is looking quite good.
Does this sort of spell the end of the Taiwan People's Party sort of third-party experiment? Are we seeing a repeat of past third-party challengers that have sort of risen and then only to fade away?
It's hard to predict with Ko Wen-je because there have been times in the past when he seemed to have faded and didn't think he might bounce back, and yet he has. However, he has all the ingredients for another collapse, like, say, for example, the People's First Party. It's a party that's led by primarily a single charismatic leader.
And what do things look like in the legislature?
Most analysts, and I concur, the way things are shaping up is it looks like the DPP will lose their absolute majority. However, there are a lot of independent candidates out there, who knows who they'll caucus with.
Once again, that was John Van Trieste speaking with political analyst Courtney Donovan-Smith about Taiwan's latest election polls. Taiwan's foreign minister has warned China is meddling in the country's elections. He made the comments at a briefing in Taipei with journalists from foreign media. Louise Watt was there.
Just over a month to go till Taiwan goes to the polls, and Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu says Chinese interference in this election campaign is apparent. Leading in the polls is the current Vice President Lai Ching-te. Now, relations between Taipei and Beijing have plummeted in recent years. Foreign Minister Joseph Wu says election interference is clear because the Taiwan Affairs Office, that's the government agency in China that deals with affairs with Taiwan, has been giving very clear statements that a vote for Lai and the ruling party means a vote for war, whereas a vote for the opposition means a vote for peace. Foreign Minister Wu also said he believes a determining factor in why Terry Gou, the Foxconn founder who was standing as an independent candidate, he withdrew from the race because of, according to Foreign Minister Wu, a Chinese investigation into his company on Chinese soil. So Foreign Minister Wu has given a warning that he expects more Chinese cognitive warfare as we get closer to polling day in mid-January. Alex Chen and Louise Watt in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
The top U.S. trade official has quashed hopes of a comprehensive free trade agreement with Taiwan. Speaking in Washington, Catherine Tai said the U.S. is not pursuing these deals with any partners. Her comments come after her Taiwan counterpart John Deng expressed hopes that a bilateral trade pact signed in June could be expanded. Tai said the Taiwan-U.S. trade relationship could be boosted in other ways.
We are negotiating another set of disciplines right as we speak. We've been making excellent progress, and we will continue to look at building out those agreements to have an arrangement with the Taiwan economy that is fit for the times, and the times are very challenging.
For the first time ever, Taiwan's military has included a Chinese surveillance balloon in its daily report on Chinese military activity around the country. The report says the balloon crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait, an unofficial boundary between China and Taiwan. 15 warplanes were also spotted inside the country's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This isn't part of Taiwanese airspace, but is used for security purposes. Civil defense is a growing topic in Taiwan, with thousands of citizens taking interest in what to do in the event of war. Jaime Okan reports on what one of the country's biggest civil defense groups has planned for the future.
One of Taiwan's largest civil defense groups, the Kuma Academy, has just announced plans to create what it's calling a national civil defense team, working with local companies to make sure that Taiwan has the supplies it needs in the case of a war. Now, the Kuma Academy teaches civilians what to do in the case of emergency, specifically what to do in the event of a conflict. They give classes in first aid and guidance on where to go and how people can be the most helpful in emergency situations. Now, Taiwan in recent years has seen an increase in military aggression from China, which is trying to bring the country under its control, and that's why classes like these have started up. But civil defense classes only started to gain popularity after Russia invaded Ukraine last year, as many people then realized that war could be a possibility. The organizer and co-founder of the Kuma Academy is Puma Shen, and he's running to be a legislator for the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP. He says that with so much international attention on Taiwan, it's important to demonstrate just what the country is doing to prepare for a possible conflict.
那我们台湾到底做了什么准备？其实是国外非常关心的，所以这也是一个很好的管道，让国际知道台湾人民是有在准备的，我们是有意志的，我们是会保护自己的，而且我们不会是主动挑衅的。
The Kuma Academy is also getting ready to hold its first class with over 1,000 people participating at one time. That's scheduled for later this year. But the organizers say that these classes are supposed to bring a sense of hope to people that they can also play a role in national security. And it's organizations like these that are supposed to show that when it comes to protecting the country, everyone has a role to play. Joseph Wu and Jaime Ocon in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
For the UK, it's Riz. For the US, it's authentic. Now Taiwan has revealed its word of the year. But as Stash Butler reports, what it means for the country is up for debate.
This year, eggs were big news in Taiwan because the country was lacking them. Taiwan was gripped by an egg panic. And it seems to have left a lasting impression because according to a local newspaper's survey of 65,000 people, Taiwan's 2023 word of the year is a character meaning lack. And in second place, eggs. For many, lack was not an obvious choice.
不知道哎。
不知道哎。
2023年的缺。
对。
我不太清楚哎。
While others say the word makes perfect sense.
我觉得应该就是对民生物资的上涨，然后对生活有一些疑虑，然后政府没有好好的处理，所以我们觉得大家觉得缺。
And there's one thing in particular everyone lacked.
最缺的什么吗？钱啊。
缺钱吧。
缺什么？缺钱。
It's been a tough year for many in Taiwan. The country's economy slipped into a recession, and with an election due in January, the opposition has channeled anger with what businesses call the 5 lacks. Taiwan's lack of water, electricity, workers, land and talent. But for some at the awards ceremony, seeing Taiwan's shortcomings in black and white is a step towards a better 2024.
不管是缺电、缺水或者缺蛋、以前缺口罩这些的问题，我觉得在年底揭晓这个字，就代表说我们有足够的信心去面对新的一年，我们如何去转变我们的人生，然后让这个社会越来越好。
Economists expect Taiwan's businesses to recover. The egg shortage is over, and the coming election promises change. In just over a month, Taiwan will choose a new leader, with President Tsai Ing-wen at her term limit. That means in 2024, voters will get a chance to decide what Taiwan was lacking this year and who's the best person to fix it. Eason Chen and Stash Butler in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, why city councillors in Hong Kong are dropping out of the race.
经历过人生的话，你发现说，我们大部分都是爱美的。
我自己少遇见一朵花，我可能就不是这个样子。
开始思考什么叫做一个本土性，
大声的唱出来说我是台湾人。
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. For the first time, a Hong Konger is running for legislative office in Taiwan. Former Hong Kong District Councillor Chui Pak Tai got Taiwan citizenship 3 years ago. He's running in New Taipei's Dan Sui District, where many Hong Kongers live. He has pledged to turn the port district into an international hub.
我们要全台湾的朋友一起来共同延续这个共识，让台湾是对世界有更大的贡献的地方，和平的贡献，友善的贡献。
Hong Kong's local elections are set for this weekend, but Beijing's growing influence forced many candidates out of the running. Harrell Hughes reports.
It's election year in Hong Kong, a time when District Councillor Winnie Poon should be in the middle of a campaign. Instead, she is organizing a farewell party. Poon made history as the first elected female council member in one of Hong Kong's largest districts. But after 38 years, she is no longer interested in the job. She points to Hong Kong's new electoral rules.
係政府提出嚟，然後我哋跟住 back up， 然之後去做咯。咁所以我覺得我已經冇力同埋冇興趣玩呢個遊戲咯。
The last election for the district council was held in 2019. But in 2023, the electoral rules are drastically different. They were overhauled earlier this year by Beijing-appointed officials. The number of directly elected seats has been slashed, from 452 to just 88. The rest are appointed by the government or selected by other authorities. For candidates to get on the ballot, they need nominations from 9 members of government-appointed committees, which means candidates without Beijing's approval have largely been shut out.
咁佢哋話唔係，佢哋都好民主㗎，因為都要選㗎嘛。咁而家當然係直選又要選，間選又要選，除咗委任啫。咁你覺得冇問題嚇？咁我咪唯有寄望被選到出嚟嘅人，你哋記住你哋嗰個目標咯，你哋個初心咯，你哋個初心係為市民服務啊嘛。
Beijing's grip on Hong Kong has tightened since 2019. When millions marched in pro-democracy protest. The crackdown included a national security law, severely limiting rights to free speech and assembly. Dozens of pro-democracy leaders, activists, and journalists have fled or are now imprisoned, and political opposition has been virtually eliminated. Those in power hope higher voter turnout will show public support for the new political order.
Come out and vote. We will try to make everybody appreciate and enjoy the success of district council election.
For the first time in 4 decades, almost all pro-democracy candidates are barred from Hong Kong's elections. For voters, nothing but Beijing's looming influence is left on the ballot. Delphine Chen and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
A pro-democracy activist who fled Hong Kong says she still feels unsafe despite moving to Canada.
I'm really worried about my personal safety in Canada, especially there were a lot of reports and news about Chinese secret police, overseas police in different countries.
Agnes Chow was arrested in Hong Kong in 2020 under Beijing's national security law. She moved to Toronto in September to continue her studies, but says she thinks Chinese police are watching her. She says she will not return to Hong Kong to fulfill her bail. A trial project in Australia is replacing road markings with glow-in-the-dark paint. As Laurel Stewart reports, organizers hope to make dark and rural roads safer.
A normal road by day, but bright and clear by night. These fluorescent road markings are lighting up rural roads in Australia's state of Victoria. The paint manufacturer Smarter Light is trying to reduce the number of nighttime car accidents.
Well, the Smarter Light line markings simply absorb light through the process known as photoluminescence. They become energised and effectively store the energy from sunlight in this case, and that light is then emitted over a long period of time well into the evening.
Road deaths in Victoria were up almost 20% in 2023 compared to last year, and nearly 30% of car accidents happen at night. The organisers hope to cut these figures, and they also say the technology may help guide people fleeing wildfires if roads are submerged in thick smoke. The organisers are trialling the paint on 10 miles of road before expanding the project across the region.
So we have to implement, to learn what was good, what was wrong, where we can improve, and then see where it takes us. But if we do save one life based on this innovation, it's a worthwhile investment.
Lighting up roads without creating light pollution or wasting energy, fluorescent paint could soon be part of the norm to keep people safe. Justin Wu and Laurel Stewart for TaiwanPlus.
We've all heard you shouldn't run with scissors, but what about hiking with them? Meet the Taiwanese hairstylist using her passion for mountaineering to provide a valuable service for people in the country's more remote areas. Bryn Thomas has the story.
对啊，帮他修一修啊，变很帅呢。晚上约会哦，有呢。
Meet Ivy. She's a hairdresser whose career and passion for helping people has taken her to some of a country's most isolated places. She's known for hiking into Taiwan's mountainous central region and cutting people's hair for free. The places she goes are home to Taiwan's indigenous communities, and many people there lack the services she provides.
Hello， 大家好，好久不见，大家还记得我吗？真的吗？有没有想念我？一般来，我就会带剪刀。
Ivy stepped onto this path in 2019. At the time, she was working as a stylist, serving media personalities in Taipei. It was a high-stress, demanding job. After a bout of poor health, she found herself in a hospital.
我就告诉我自己，我一定要好好的爱惜我的身体，然后就开始运动啊，瑜伽、游泳，或者是爬山。然后，但是我最爱的就是爬山，因为我觉得爬山你要付出体力、付出时间，然后你要有一段的辛苦，你才能达到那个很漂亮的感觉。
On her journey to health, she found a higher calling. She discovered that she could provide a valuable service while pursuing her love of hiking. It all started when she met someone in need far from the barbershops of urban Taiwan.
因为我那时候在山上，我没有带剪刀，没有带工具，他就还是很希望就再拿着那种塑胶剪刀，还有塑胶的梳子给我，说这是新的剪刀，它一定很利。我觉得对我来说很简单，我其实只要剪而已。Hello， 你要剪头发？
From then on, cutting hair for people living in Taiwan's central mountains was a case of do good, feel good.
我自己是比较喜欢到没有发廊的地方，因为我觉得他们比较需要。然后我就从屏东的嘉平部落一直剪到马氏部落，然后安朔部落、新化部落、土坂部落。你如果只剪一个部落的话，隔壁的部落就会说：为什么我们就这么近，你还不来剪？
By following her passion for hiking in the mountains, Ivy has reached new heights with her good deeds, performing acts of altruism at altitude. Luffy Lee, Sam Hui, and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
The Asian Baseball Championships are underway in Taiwan. The country's baseball team is set to face off against rivals Japan on Friday night at the newly opened Taipei Dome. Baseball is Taiwan's national sport with a distinct ballpark culture all its own. But spectators at the Dome recently got a taste of a different ballgame fixture, organs. Taiwan made sports headlines in March when the world got to see its hyped-up, over-the-top, fan-driven baseball experience during the World Baseball Classic. So impressive was Taiwan's stadium atmosphere that the country exported it. Taiwanese baseball cheerleaders toured the U.S., putting on shows at games in California and New York. But baseball exchanges between Taiwan and the U.S. are not a one-way street. The Taipei Dome recently held its debut baseball game, and if you were there, you might have heard some distinctly American baseball sounds. American baseball stadiums often feature organs to help get fans hyped up. Though rare, this type of baseball music has crept into Taiwan stadiums. The person bringing it here is Richard Wong, or Boston as he likes to be called. Boston is a baseball consultant, commentator, and now a stadium musician.
I've been living in the States for about a decade, so I've been to so many Major League Baseball games, and of course, in each stadium there's an organist there. It's a very special feature of the stadium, but in Taiwan it's another style. You don't really see
Boston realizes that things in Taiwan are done a little differently.
They have the electronic music, they have the trumpet, they have the drums, and they have the whole set, but no, you just don't see the organist.
Boston consulted for the Taipei Dome, and he figured it was a good time to introduce a piece of American baseball culture to Taiwanese fans.
And been involving with the Dome for so many years, and just figured that it's a very good timing for me to bring it to try to play a few different music.
And though it's an unfamiliar concept in Taiwan, fans here seem to know what to do during Boston's performances. For Boston, baseball is not just a sport. It's a way to bring countries and cultures closer together. And to him, Taiwan's game is already quite international. His performances are just one more drop in the melting pot.
Some of the Japanese elements, some of the US elements, and especially the cheerleading thing is most likely the Korean elements coming, so it's good. Baseball is a universal language, and we bring everything together.
Though the world's largest ocean sits between Taiwan and the United States, a shared love for baseball and appreciation for each other's sporting culture is bringing the two countries closer together. And that's it for this edition of TaiwanPlus News. Check out our website or social media for more. I'm going to leave you with some footage of the annual winter migration of the monarch butterfly from the US and Canada to Mexico. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.